Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. Tonight we're stepping into a place few dare to explore, the quiet, uncertain space between trust and betrayal. And I want to begin with a question that's more uncomfortable than most. What if the woman lying next to you each night is slowly slipping away and you don't even see it happening? Not with loud fights, not with slamming doors, but with silence, with distance, with a tenderness that feels off, a gaze that lingers on her phone just a little too long, a smile that no longer reaches her eyes. You can't quite explain it, but your gut is whispering something your heart doesn't want to hear. This isn't about paranoia. This is about awareness. Because sometimes infidelity doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts in the lonely spaces between conversations, in the glances not shared, in the things you stop saying to each other. As a therapist who sat across from countless couples on the brink, I've seen what most men miss until it's too late. This video isn't here to scare you. It's here to wake you up. We're going to talk about the 5 subtle, often invisible signs your wife may be cheating, broken down the way an FBI profiler would read a case. Not because she's the enemy, but because if you truly want intimacy, you need to be willing to see her, even in the shadows. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes, their eyes, the ones you've memorized over the years, and suddenly realized you don't recognize the way they're looking back at you? It starts so small, a moment you dismiss. She's quieter than usual at dinner. You crack a joke and she smiles, but not like she used to. She's present, but not with you. Her body is in the room, but her attention has floated elsewhere. Maybe it's work stress. Maybe she's tired. Or maybe, just maybe, there's something else behind that silence. Something she hasn't told you. Something she might not even be ready to admit to herself. Men often think that cheating is loud, that it's lipstick on a collar or a hotel receipt stuffed in the wrong pocket. But the truth is, most betrayals begin in silence, in glances, in distance, and you don't notice until the connection has already started to wither. This video isn't here to fuel suspicion. It's not here to place blame or create drama in your home. It's here to open your eyes, to help you listen, not just with your ears, but with your intuition, with your body, because you deserve to know the truth. And more than that, you deserve a relationship that feels safe, alive, and honest. Now let's talk about the first hidden sign, and it's one that many men overlook, even though it sits right under their nose. She starts to rebrand herself. Now I want you to think back 6 months ago, a year ago. How did she dress? How did she carry herself around the house when it was just the two of you? Did she walk in wearing sweatpants and drop her bag at the door? Did she spend Saturday mornings in an old hoodie while sipping coffee on the couch with you? Now suddenly things have changed. You notice she's going to the gym a little more often. She's wearing new perfume, something sweeter, bolder. There's new lingerie in the drawer, but you haven't seen her wear it for you. Her phone is filled with new selfies and her outfits are edgier. She says she just wants to feel better in her skin. That's fair. That's good. Every woman deserves that. But sometimes it's not just about her. Sometimes that rebrand is about the attention she's receiving elsewhere, or the attention she's trying to attract. You see, identity doesn't shift in a vacuum. We all evolve, of course, but sudden transformations in appearance, behavior, or energy that aren't mirrored in your shared intimacy, they're rarely just about self-love, especially if she isn't pulling you closer as she grows. She's changing, but not inviting you into the change. Now again, don't jump to conclusions. Not every wardrobe upgrade means something sinister. But if she's growing and you're not growing with her, ask why. Because if she feels seen elsewhere, it may mean she no longer feels desired at home. Now let's talk about something more subtle, something that creeps into your marriage without warning and builds quietly like fog, a growing emotional gap. Let me ask you, when was the last time you made her laugh so hard she leaned into you, eyes watering, clutching her stomach? When was the last time she reached for your hand unprompted, just because it made her feel safe? When you walk into a room, does she light up or does she keep scrolling? Emotional withdrawal is often the first stage of infidelity, not the physical kind, emotional. And for many women, that's the kind that hurts more. Because before the body strays, the heart goes first. She used to confide in you, talk about her dreams, her fears, her day at work. Now, you're lucky to get a full sentence without checking her phone. The conversations feel transactional, like a roommate. She's short, not angry, not hostile, just uninterested. She's building a world you no longer have access to. She's guarding it, locking the door, and the scariest part, sometimes she doesn't even know she's doing it, because she's trying to protect you from her guilt, from her longing, from her confusion. And this is when many men retreat. They feel rejected, so they shut down too. The cycle feeds itself. You stop asking how she is, she stops volunteering it, and the distance becomes normal, familiar, like cold sheets you've grown used to. But let me tell you something, silence between lovers is not neutral. It is never neutral, it always speaks. If your wife is pulling away emotionally, don't just chalk it up to stress or hormones or being busy with the kids. Ask yourself, where does she feel emotionally alive? And is it still with you? Let's take this even deeper now, into territory that's both emotional and deeply primal. One of the most overlooked signs of infidelity, according to relationship experts and yes, even FBI behavioral analysts, is an increase in criticism. She begins to pick at you, and I don't mean playfully, I mean sharp criticism. You leave a towel on the floor, and suddenly it's a commentary on your entire personality. You forget to call her on your lunch break, and she makes you feel like you're distant. It's no longer about the thing. It's about you, who you are, what you lack. It's like she's holding up a mirror and showing you only your worst parts. Why? Because here's the truth. When someone begins to emotionally invest in another person, whether consciously or subconsciously, they often have to create a justification for their betrayal. No one wants to feel like the villain. No one wakes up and says, I'm going to cheat today and break someone I love. So the mind looks for reasons. It searches for flaws in the partner. He doesn't listen. He's always distracted. He doesn't see me anymore. And soon these private frustrations spill out in criticism, not because you're truly the problem, but because justifying betrayal requires rewriting the story of the marriage. Suddenly everything you do is filtered through a new lens, a darker one. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells around her, if you feel like nothing you do is right, if she's no longer curious about your efforts, but only points out your failures, something deeper is shifting. Criticism is not always about fixing something. Sometimes it's about distancing, about creating emotional space so guilt doesn't have to exist. And now, I know this is heavy. I know your heart might be beating a little faster right now. Maybe you're seeing signs that you brushed off. Maybe this feels too familiar. But I want to pause here and remind you, this isn't about blame. This is about understanding. Understanding where disconnection begins. Understanding how emotional neglect, even unintentional, creates cracks. And understanding that if we truly want to love someone, fully, radically, honestly, we must be willing to see the truth. Even when it hurts, there's something I want you to hold in your heart right now. Sometimes the truth doesn't scream, it whispers, and when we aren't listening, we don't lose love all at once. We lose it in fragments. Now that we've opened the door to the first signs, those subtle shifts in her identity, her distance, her criticism, I want to guide you into a more invisible layer, one that rarely gets named, but often tells you everything you need to know. Let's talk about secrecy, not bold lies. Not soap opera level deception. No, I'm talking about the subtle way she stops letting you into her world. She changes her phone password. She guards her screen when you walk by. She starts taking her phone into the bathroom, something she never used to do. She tells you she just wants privacy. And of course she deserves it, we all do. But this is different. It's not about privacy. It's about exclusion. You feel it in the way she responds. Her phone pings and she suddenly flips it face down. Her tone tightens if you ask who it was. She's online more, but when you enter the room, she logs off. Quickly, almost too quickly. This shift doesn't come with a siren. It's quiet. It's often dismissed. She's busy. You tell yourself. She just wants space. But the problem isn't the phone. It's the energy around the phone. The shift in behavior, the fact that intimacy is rooted in openness. And when the energy changes, the intimacy changes. Let me offer you a truth I've seen in so many broken marriages. Emotional affairs almost always begin digitally. A message here, a laugh there, a private joke, something that feels harmless until it isn't. Because secrecy is intoxicating, it makes people feel young again. Seen desired, it creates a fantasy space where they're not someone's wife or someone's mother, but simply a woman being wanted. And if she no longer feels that with you, and she's beginning to protect this other space with walls and passwords and unexplained absences, your intuition knows. Trust that. Not to panic, but to investigate with calm curiosity. You might want to ask, who have you become while I wasn't looking? Not in anger, in wonder, in real, raw presence. Because maybe she hasn't felt seen in a long time. Now, this leads us into one of the hardest signs to talk about. And it's one that stings, not because it's about sex, but because it's about absence. I want to talk about intimacy, physical touch, the energy between your bodies, and how its sudden disappearance or forced performance can be a flashing red light. When a woman is emotionally checked out, her body follows. For some, it means she stops reaching for you. The hugs feel obligatory. She rolls over in bed and faces the wall. Sex becomes less frequent or mechanical or absent altogether. But what's harder to spot, and what some men overlook, is when she goes the opposite direction. Sometimes a woman overcompensates. She becomes more sexual than usual, out of nowhere, and it feels exciting, even exhilarating. But something's off. The connection isn't there. It's not about closeness. It's about performance. You feel it in the way she touches you, the speed, the way she looks past you rather than into you. The choreography is there, but the heart isn't. Why does this happen? Because guilt needs a place to hide. Sometimes physical closeness is used to silence that inner conflict. If I sleep with my husband tonight, she thinks, who proves I'm still here. But deep down, you know something is different. You can't explain it. but it doesn't feel the way it used to. Her body is close, but her soul is gone. This is the paradox. Presence doesn't always mean connection, and disconnection doesn't always mean absence. In sessions with couples, I often ask, when was the last time you felt your partner's body relaxing to yours? When did you last feel desired, not just touch it? Men tend to see intimacy as proof of love. Women often need emotional safety to crave intimacy. If there's been a change, either a loss of touch or a spike in performative affection, ask yourself, is she making love with me or covering something up? And now let me tell you something about patterns, because this last sign we'll talk about in this part isn't dramatic. It doesn't come with yelling or doors slamming. It comes with changes in her routine, subtle shifts, unusual habits. She's staying later at work. She has a new friend you've never met. She's suddenly too tired to talk, or always seems to have a meeting when you want to go out. You try to plan a date night, and there's always a reason she can't. She used to be spontaneous. Now she's booked, emotionally unavailable, unreachable, like she's always somewhere else. And here's the thing, maybe she is. You feel it in your bones, that something's shifted. You start to see patterns, recurring names that come up, small inconsistencies in stories, plans that don't quite add up. And the worst part, she's not even lying. She's just not telling you the whole truth. Because the truth is fragile, and if she says it out loud, something breaks, so she hides it in vague answers. Just grabbing drinks with coworkers. You don't know him. It's not important. Why are you being so paranoid? And you stop asking. You don't want to be that guy, the jealous one, the needy one, the insecure one. So you say nothing, you smile, you nod, but inside a part of you starts to dim. Because you know what it feels like when someone is slowly walking away even if they haven't left yet. I want you to hear me now. You are not crazy, you are not insecure. You are intuitive. You are connected. And if your gut is telling you something isn't right, it's not because you're broken. It's because your body is paying attention. Still, I don't want you to go home and accuse. I want you to go home and observe with presence, with clarity, with compassion, because behind every betrayal is a story, a wound, a longing. And if you want to heal, not just from her betrayal, but from your own pain, you need to be able to face what's in front of you. The way to rebuild, or to walk away with dignity, is not through control, but through awareness. And awareness begins with naming what's happening. Sometimes, the hardest truth to admit is not that someone is cheating on us. It's that the connection we once nurtured is no longer alive. And here's the last, deeply hidden sign of infidelity that very few people talk about, because it's not about her. It's about you. You feel invisible, not ignored, not rejected, just unseen. You walk into a room and she doesn't look up. You share a moment from your day and she doesn't ask a single follow-up question. She used to touch your arm as she passed. Now she walks by like you're part of the furniture. You start to wonder if you're boring, if you've lost your edge. You catch yourself speaking quieter, laughing less. You don't share as much, because what's the point? The pain isn't just in the silence, it's in the shrinking, in the way you begin to disappear from your own marriage. And maybe, just maybe, someone else is seeing her, noticing her, and she's coming alive in their presence in a way that makes her presence with you feel dull. That doesn't excuse it, but it explains the gravity of this sign. Because infidelity isn't always a scream of dissatisfaction. Sometimes it's a search for aliveness. And if you feel invisible, if you feel like the only intimacy left is duty or performance, that's not just the absence of love, that's the absence of being seen. Here's where I want to pause, not to make you paranoid, but to help you reclaim your agency. Because the worst thing you can do right now is respond with rage, suspicion, or passive aggression. That's the instinct, right? You want to check her messages, confront her, lash out. You want the truth to reveal itself like a flashing light. But betrayal is a maze, not a spotlight. And the real work, the real healing, starts not in blaming her, but in asking yourself, have I also been missing in this relationship? Have I been showing up for her emotionally? Or have I been asleep next to her just as she's been fading away from me? That's not a justification. It's a mirror. See, many men who sit across from me in therapy don't just feel betrayed, they feel blindsided. I had no idea, they say. I thought we were fine. But when we dig deeper, what we uncover is years of disconnection, months of avoiding real conversations, weeks of playing roles rather than being partners. And in that vacuum, something else, someone else can take root. It's not your fault that she strayed, but it is your responsibility to decide how you'll respond to this moment. Will you let it destroy you, or will you let it awaken you? This right here is the sacred moment, because the truth is, most affairs don't begin with sex. They begin with neglect, with longing, with curiosity, and in some twisted, painful way. They are not always a sign of hate. They're often a sign of missing something deeply human. So here's what I ask of you now. Take a deep breath. Let yourself feel the ache, the confusion, the fear. Don't run from it. Don't push it down. Because this moment, this pain has something to teach you. About her, about your marriage, about yourself. And when you're ready, sit with her. Not with accusations, but with presence. Say, I feel a distance between us. I miss you. I want to understand what's happening. Not to control you, but to see you again. Because the opposite of betrayal isn't loyalty. It's transparency, it's truth. And if she's not ready to tell you the truth, don't chase it, don't beg for it. Sit in your truth instead. Stand in it. Let it make you stronger, not smaller. You are not weak for loving her. You are not a fool for trusting her. You are not less of a man because someone failed to honor your heart. Real strength isn't in checking her phone. It's in checking in with yourself. It's in choosing presence over power, clarity over control, compassion over chaos. And let me tell you, whatever happens next, whether you choose to rebuild your marriage or walk away from it, your dignity is your anchor. Because while love can be taken, dignity is something only you can give away. Let this be the moment you remember your worth. Let this be the beginning, not of blame, but of awakening. You are not invisible. You are not broken. You are not alone. You're still here. And that means something. That means you haven't turned away. You haven't gone numb. You're still willing to feel. And that right there is the most courageous thing a man can do. Because when betrayal whispers through a relationship, it doesn't just hurt, it destabilizes, it unravels the stories we've told ourselves, the security we built, the identity we held as a partner, a lover, a husband. Suddenly, everything is a question. Every moment feels like a memory rewritten in hindsight. And what's worse, you begin to doubt your own perception. Did I miss the signs? Was I too trusting? Am I the one to blame? Let me remind you gently, doubt is a shadow that follows pain. It is not a reflection of your worth. It is not proof that you are weak. It's just what happens when love is wounded. When the foundation shifts beneath your feet and your heart is still trying to find solid ground. But what if this moment could be the doorway to something deeper? Not just about whether she cheated or didn't. Not about the details. But about you, about the relationship you've built, about the kind of man you want to be moving forward. This is the opportunity so many overlook. Betrayal, as devastating as it feels, is also an invitation to turn inward, to examine not just what was done to you, but how you've been living. Were you present in the relationship? Or were you emotionally absent too? Did you listen to her stories? Or were you scrolling through your phone, half nodding? Did you hold her gaze when she was hurting? Or did you offer solutions and distractions? Were you her mirror, reflecting her beauty and worth back to her? Or were you so focused on providing, on protecting, on surviving that you forgot how to see her? And again, this is not blame. This is ownership. There's a difference. Blame says, you failed me. Ownership says, I want to understand the space between us. And when two people sit in ownership, something remarkable can happen, even after betrayal. Because healing doesn't start with punishment. It starts with presence, with the decision to meet each other again, to begin again, to listen, not for defense, but for truth. So let's talk about the next step. The part most men don't prepare for, because even after you've seen the signs, even after you've confronted the truth, what then? What happens after the discovery? What do you do when she admits something? Or worse, when she doesn't, but your heart still aches with knowing. The first instinct is to demand answers. Why? When? How could you? But I want to offer you this. The answers will not bring peace if your nervous system is still in chaos. You don't need all the facts right now. You need grounding. So before you engage with her, engage with yourself. Sit in stillness. Breathe. Let your body tell you what it already knows. Journal if you can. Talk to a therapist or a trusted friend. But whatever you do, don't make permanent decisions from a place of raw pain. Because infidelity creates a storm, and no one should sail through a storm without first dropping anchor. Now, once you are calm, not numb but clear, then comes the conversation. And this is important. You are not asking for confession, you are asking for truth. And the way you ask matters. You say, something between us has shifted. I've noticed changes in how we connect, how you speak, how you look at me. I want to know what's happening, not because I want to control you, but because I want to be honest with myself. Notice the language. You're not attacking. You're not accusing. You are naming reality as gently as possible, and how she responds in this moment will teach you everything. If she gets defensive, shuts down, or turns it back on you, you're paranoid. You're imagining things. That tells you about where she is emotionally, not where you are. But if she softens, if she sighs, if her eyes fill with tears, if she says, I've been scared to tell you what I've been feeling, then you have something real to work with. You may not like what she says, but truth is not always comfortable. It's just true. And once truth is on the table, you have a choice. You can walk away or you can begin again. There is no shame in either path, because sometimes the most courageous thing a man can do is walk away from a relationship that no longer honors his heart. And sometimes the most courageous thing is to stay and do the hard, messy, tender work of rebuilding, of peeling back the layers, of healing together. But you don't need to know the outcome right now. You just need to know where you stand. You are not chasing her. You are not punishing her. You are choosing yourself, choosing to no longer live in confusion, choosing clarity, choosing peace. And no matter what comes next, that choice will lead you back to power, not the power of control, but the power of presence. Because the truth is, you deserve a relationship where you are seen, where your vulnerability is met with tenderness, where you don't have to question your place in her world, where the love is not just given but returned. So I want you to sit with that tonight, not in anger, but in stillness. Ask yourself, what kind of love do I want moving forward, not just from her, but from myself? Because the man who learns to honor his own heart, who learns to speak gently with himself, to stay present through pain, to meet betrayal with grounded truth, that man becomes unstoppable, not because he has all the answers, but because he has himself. So here we are. You've listened, not just with your ears, but with your soul. You've followed the thread of discomfort, of uncertainty, of longing. And if you're still here, still present, it means you are ready. Ready to face the hardest truths in love. Ready to see what's real even when it hurts. Ready to no longer live in a state of emotional guessing games. That, my friend, is real intimacy. It's not always sweet. It's not always soft. But it's honest. Let's take a breath and revisit what brought us here. You've noticed she's rebranding herself. New energy, new clothes, new attention. But not for you. You felt her pulling away emotionally, not fighting, just fading, like a whisper slipping through the cracks. You've endured the criticism, not the helpful kind. The kind that rewrites your value, that paints you as less, as absent, as the reason for her unhappiness. You've watched the secrecy bloom, phones turned away, passwords changed, schedules that don't quite make sense, emotional walls you can't seem to climb. And you've either touched her body and felt no soul, or missed her touch entirely, as if her warmth had been reassigned elsewhere. And lastly, perhaps most painfully, you felt yourself disappear, not from the world, but from her gaze, from her attention, from her heart. All of these signs don't scream infidelity on their own, but together they form a pattern, a picture. And what matters most now is not whether she is guilty, but whether you are awake. Awake to what's real, awake to what's missing, awake to what you've been tolerating. Because too many men sleepwalk through their relationships. They assume that silence is safety, that peace means connection, that absence of fighting means presence of love. But now you know better. You know that love is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of truth, of attention, of devotion, of effort. So what do you do now? You reclaim yourself. That doesn't mean you pack a bag. It doesn't mean you rage or run. It means you return to the man you were before you lost your voice, before you became quiet to keep the peace, before you gave up on your own need to be seen. You start asking better questions. You hold space for real conversations. You make decisions not from fear, but from clarity. And if she's willing, if she meets you there, if she says, yes, I've been lost, I've been distant, I've been wrong, then you have something sacred to work with. Not everyone gets that. Some will deny, some will deflect, some will lie because they're scared, because they're ashamed, because they don't know how to handle the truth without breaking everything. But you will not break. You may feel pain, you may grieve, you may cry when no one is watching, but you will rise with dignity, because no one, not even the woman you love, can take away your self-respect. You can choose to rebuild, or you can choose to walk away, but either way you do it with your head held high, not because you're unaffected, but because you've decided that your heart deserves clarity, your love deserves reciprocity, and your life deserves peace. So if you've seen these signs, if you're living with the weight of invisible betrayal, know this: you're not weak for noticing. You're not overreacting for asking. You are wise for seeing. You are powerful for confronting. You are strong enough to stand in the fire of truth and not burn but refine. And now, before we end, I want to speak to something deeper, beyond relationships, beyond fidelity. Beyond her, I want to speak to you. You deserve to be loved in a way that feels alive, not tolerated, not endured, but desired. You deserve a relationship where the little things matter, where laughter still echoes in the kitchen, where your thoughts are heard, where your presence is wanted. And if you don't have that right now, if what you have is confusion, withdrawal, distance, then I invite you to pause. Not to blame, but to choose. Choose the kind of love you want. Choose the kind of man you want to be. And remember this: no matter how deep the betrayal, no matter how long the silence, no matter how bruised your heart feels right now, you are not broken. You are awakening. And that is the beginning of everything. If this conversation stirred something in you, let it wake you. Let it heal you. Let it guide you toward a new kind of truth. And if this video gave you clarity, if you felt seen in these words, please share it. Someone else out there might be silently enduring the same confusion, the same ache. Let this message reach them. And if you're still here, leave a comment below. Tell me what resonated. Or just say, still here, because sometimes that's all we need to be reminded we're not alone. Like this video if it spoke to you. Subscribe if you want more content that tells the truth about relationships, without sugarcoating, without shaming, just soul to soul. Until next time, take care of your heart. It's been through enough. And it's worthy of peace. Here's to clarity, here's to courage, and here's to choosing love that sees you fully and completely, always.